If you don't like living with us, you can leave. My sister said it while standing smack in the center of my living room, holding my champagne like she owned it. Surrounded by people I didn't know, people who were laughing too loudly and spilling drinks onto the floors I'd polished just that morning. The laughter that rose afterward didn't sound like family at all. It sounded like a victory cheer. A slow, smug, well-practiced one. I looked at her, really looked. Then let my eyes drift across the space I had built with my own two hands. Every corner, every fixture, every carefully chosen detail. Now touched, stepped on, stained, or claimed by people who called it staying over. I didn't argue, I didn't yell. I didn't do anything dramatic. I just smiled. A small, calm, dangerous smile. Because while they were laughing that night, none of them realized they'd already given me the one thing I needed the most: proof. Stay with me. Because what came next will make you question what the word family is even supposed to mean. I had finished setting up the apartment barely 2 weeks before that night. 3 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows that drank in the sunrise, light oak floors that glowed like warm honey when the sun hit them. It was the first place that was fully, completely, entirely mine. No roommates, no compromises, no one telling me to tone down my style or keep it neutral. I designed every inch myself. Matte black fixtures, soft ambient lighting, walls in a sandstone shade that looked different every hour depending on the light. It was exactly the life I'd spent a decade clawing toward. Quiet, balanced, earned. Then Sabrina called. I was sketching layouts for a client's kitchen remodel when her name flashed on my phone. Her voice was sweet, too sweet, the kind she used whenever she wanted something. Just a month, she promised. The contractor said we'll be done by then. You've got 3 bedrooms, right? We'll bring only the essentials. I should have known better. Sabrina's essentials had always arrived in bulk, and usually in moving trucks. Growing up, she was the irreplaceable one, the favorite. The kid our parents swooped in to rescue every time she set her own life on fire. Credit card debt? Dad paid it. Lost a job? Mom comforted her. Another relationship disaster? Everyone blamed the guy. I was the one sweeping up the pieces every single time. The last time I lent her money, she bought designer handbags and called it retail therapy. But guilt is a heavy chain, and I've always carried mine too tightly. So of course I said yes. 2 days later, I stood at my window watching a U-Haul rumble backward into my driveway. My stomach dropped. The doors rolled open, and it was like watching a department store clearance aisle spill out mountains of boxes. Plastic bins, toys, storage tubs, and even a treadmill. Ethan climbed out holding a gaming console high like it was the family heirloom. Sabrina waved from the passenger seat, sunglasses catching the light like a spotlight she thought she deserved. Surprise! She trilled as they came up the stairs. It's not as much as it looks. It was exactly as much as it looked. By the time the movers finished, my minimalist sanctuary looked like a garage sale had detonated inside it. She pointed casually toward the hallway. We'll take the guest room. The kids can have your bedroom. You can use your office for now, right? I stared at her. Words froze behind my teeth like they didn't want to come out. Then I nodded, because arguing with Sabrina was like fighting wind. Loud, exhausting, and absolutely pointless. The first week was chaos wearing the cheap mask of family life. Toys scattered on the stairs. Cookie crumbs buried in the couch cushions. Crayons scribbled onto the edges of my design drafts. Every morning started with a chorus of cartoons at full volume and ended with dishes stacked like a modern art sculpture in my sink. Sabrina worked part-time, which really meant she went to brunch and pretended to shop for necessities. Ethan took Zoom meetings in my office wearing nothing but boxers and drinking the imported coffee I kept specifically for clients. At night, I lay on the tiny cot I'd moved into my studio, the space that used to be my sanctuary. The hum of the refrigerator became the only steady sound. My home, the home I'd saved years to build, had turned into a waiting room I was somehow paying for. One evening I came home to find peanut butter smeared across my white marble countertops. Sabrina sat on the couch painting her nails, scrolling through her phone like she lived in a hotel and housekeeping was included. The kids got hungry, she said without glancing up. I cleaned in silence, every wipe heavier, slower. Later, Mom called. Her tone sharp, disappointed. Sabrina says you've been distant. You can't make your sister feel unwelcome. She has enough stress. I almost laughed. Instead I said, okay Mom, I'll try harder. That night I lay awake staring at faint cracks in the ceiling, the same way I used to count seconds during childhood arguments. Back then, Sabrina stole my things, and Mom shrugged. Now she was stealing my peace. And Mom still acted like it was fine. I told myself it was temporary 30 days, maybe 35. I repeated it like a prayer. But deep down, another voice whispered the truth. Sabrina never leaves until someone forces her. And this time, that someone was going to be me. The first real crack happened on a Tuesday morning. I walked into the kitchen, half asleep, holding my mug, and nearly slipped on a puddle of orange juice. The kids were racing barefoot around the island, knocking over chairs, screaming like it was Disney World. Where's your mom? I asked. She went out, the older one said, not even looking up. She said you'd make breakfast. I just stood there, frozen in my own kitchen, realizing I had somehow become the unpaid nanny. Around noon, Sabrina strolled in wearing sunglasses and carrying a shopping bag. You're welcome, she said, dropping a box of pastries on the counter. For what? For breakfast. You didn't have to cook. I stared at her. This woman could take any situation, twist it, and make it your fault. Sabrina, you can't disappear in the morning. I work from home. You're always working, she cut in like my job was an inconvenience to her. The kids need attention too. They're your kids. She rolled her eyes, the same way she used to when she'd get caught lying as a teenager. You've always been so uptight, Marissa. Relax, it's family. Family. The word was starting to taste like ash. Within weeks, my apartment looked and felt completely different. My minimalist shelves bowed under cheap knickknacks Sabrina insisted added warmth. My design books were buried beneath coloring sheets and snack wrappers. Even the air felt heavier, thicker. Then the bills started rising. Electricity tripled. Water doubled. My cleaning supplies vanished faster than groceries. When I confronted her, she shrugged. 4 people use more water than 1. Obviously, you're lucky we don't charge you for company. Lucky. Ethan wasn't any better.
He turned my office into his gaming cave, snacks and cables everywhere.
One afternoon I found my laptop dead fried. He'd spilled soda on it and tried to fix it with a towel. Thousands of dollars of client work gone. When I confronted him,
He said, relax, it's just stuff.
that night I called Tyler my business partner and the only person who never judged me. They're turning my home into a landfill, I said, pacing. Then stop letting them, he replied. It's not that simple. They're family. Mom already thinks I'm selfish. Marissa, he sighed, you design spaces for people to breathe. You deserve to breathe in your own home. I knew he was right. But guilt still held me hostage. Things spiraled quickly. Sabrina started inviting friends over. Just coffee, she said. But every coffee turned into noise, crumbs, wine rings on my tables, toys in every corner. One Saturday I came home to 8 strangers sprawled across my couch, drinking beer and watching cartoons. Sabrina looked up and said, we're having a tiny get-together. A tiny one. My fridge was empty. My backyard smelled like smoke. I spent the night picking up trash. The beer bottles clinking against the bin sounded exactly like applause, mocking applause for my stupidity. When Mom arrived the next morning with a casserole, she gave me that look, the lecture look. You're being too harsh. Your sister just wants her kids to feel normal. Normal, I said, laughing. They broke my vase, destroyed my laptop, and emptied my pantry. It's just things, she said. Don't be materialistic. Materialistic. I had built my life from nothing, brick by brick, design by design, and they called it materialism. That night I sat by the window, watching the city lights blur. My reflection looked back at me, tired, angry, small. I realized I hadn't built a beautiful space to show off. I built it to breathe, to feel safe. And now every part of that safety was slipping away beneath someone else's footsteps. The next morning, Sabrina knocked on my door with a bottle of wine. Don't be mad, she said sweetly. I'm planning Ethan's birthday here, just family. I stared at her for a long moment, then said the only thing I could, do what you want, Sabrina. You always do. I didn't know it then, but that sentence was the final thread holding my silence together. The party would snap it clean. The night of the party. I opened my door and found strangers scattered across my balcony. Loud music vibrated through the floor. Someone had taped gold balloons spelling Ethan's birthday across my glass wall, tilted and crooked, right over the clean, sharp lines I designed myself. The smell of beer and cheap perfume suffocated the air. I froze in the doorway. My minimalist sanctuary looked like a frat house someone forgot to clean. Sabrina spotted me and waved, holding a champagne glass like she'd been waiting for her grand entrance. "You made it," she shouted. "Grab a drink. You look so serious." "Serious?" I said as I stepped inside. "Sabrina, what is this?" "A party." She laughed. "Relax, you could use one." People bumped into me, streaking frosting across my counters. Ethan was blasting music from my speakers, dancing like he paid rent here. One of their friends plopped onto my cream couch with a plate of wings. Grease dripped down the cushions like slow poison. I turned off the music. Silence slammed into the room. "Hey!" Ethan yelled. "What the hell?" "This isn't your house," I said quietly, voice trembling but steady. "I never agreed to this." Sabrina laughed sharp, bright, fake. "Oh, come on. It's one night. You've been such a buzzkill lately. Let us enjoy life for once. You've been enjoying my life for months." I snapped. "My food, my space, my time." Her smile faltered. "You're overreacting." "It's just family." I looked around at the crowd, half of them strangers. "Then, where's the family?" For a moment, nobody spoke. Then someone in the back muttered, "Chill, it's just a party." Laughter rippled again. He wanted to scream. Instead, I picked up an empty glass from the counter, rinsed it, and set it back in the cabinet. The sound of glass, clinking against glass, was the only sound in the room. Sabrina stepped closer. "You really can't stand to see anyone happy, can you?" "Happy?" I said. "You call this happy?" She smirked. "If you don't like living with us, you can leave." The words sliced through the air. Someone laughed. Someone else said, "Ouch." My vision tunneled. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I looked at her. The same sister who's to steal my clothes, my money, my peace. And I finally understood she hadn't changed. She'd just grown louder. So I left. No door slam, no dramatic exit. I picked up my keys, my purse, and walked past them like a ghost moving through smoke. The hallway outside was cold and silent. The noise behind me grew muffled like it belonged to another world. I drove to a small hotel 10 blocks away. The clerk barely looked up when I checked in. "Rough night," he hissed. "You have no idea," I said. In their room, I sat on the bed, still hearing echoes of laughter through my skull. I stared at my hands. They were steady. It surprised me because inside something had just broken free. I opened my phone and scrolled through old messages. Mom defending Sabrina. Dad staying quiet, Sabrina asking for small favors. It was all the same story over and over. I just been pretending not to see it. The next morning I drove back. My stomach clenched when I unlocked the door. Silence. Then the smell hit me. Bittersweet. Something burned. The living room was wrecked. Plates on the floor. A puddle of wine on the rug. One of Beckett's toys floating in it like a casualty. My home looked like it had served a storm. I stood there breathing through my teeth, then walked to the stereo and turned on soft jazz. The kind I used to play when I worked. The melody floated above the mess like a dare. I rolled up my sleeves. Every plate I stacked, every can I tossed, every box I filled with their belongings was a heartbeat steady and controlled. The anger wasn't loud anymore. It was surgical, precise. By the time I finished 4 suitcases and 3 boxes sat neatly by the door. I looked at the mat, the empty rooms, and whispered to Thier, "You said if I don't like it, I can leave." I did. Now it's your turn. And for the first time in months, my house exhaled. By noon, I'd packed everything that didn't belong. Every toy, every shoe, every thread that screamed of invasion. My place was still messy, but at least it was mine again. The soft hum of their vent sounded like peace trying to find its way back home. Then I heard keys at the door. Sabrina walked in first, holding a grocery bag, sunglasses still on, like she didn't expect to find anything wrong. Ethan followed, dragging kids. He froze when he saw the luggage stacked by the door. "What are you doing?" Sabrina asked, her voice already cracking around the edges. "Packing?" I said. "You can't kick us out." I turned calm but steady. "You told me to leave my own house, remember?" Her face flushed red. "I was joking." "No," I said quietly. "You were testing how far you could go. Congratulations, you found the line." The kids looked confused, shifting from foot to foot. I felt a pang of guilt for them, but not enough to stop. "You're unbelievable," she hissed. "You think you're better than everyone because you have a nice apartment and a business. You've always thought that." I smiled just enough to unnerve her. "You think I'm better than you. That's the real problem." Before she could answer, my phone buzzed. A notification from the building manager. "Noise complaint investigation complete. Violation conferred." I'd filed it the night before. Attached was a fine with Sabrina and Ethan's names on it. "Oh, and this," I said, scrolling. "Mrs. Langford from next door sent me the footage from last night. All the noise, the mess, few words you said." Her jaw went slack. "Don't worry," I continued. "I only sent Edo mom and dad along with the bills for the last 3 months." "You're sick," she whispered. "No," I said, "I'm done." Ethan finally spoke, voice low. "Where are we supposed to go?" "I already found you a rental. 2 bedrooms close to the kids' school. First month's paid." I held out folder. "After that, you're on your own." They just stared at me. Sabrina, furious. Ethan, humiliated. When my parents called that night, I didn't answer. I let the voicemail play while I folded laundry in the living room. Mom's voice cracked with anger. "You can't throw your sister out like that." I muted the phone and turned up the jazz. For the next few days, the silence was beautiful. The air was lighter. I could hear the city again instead of their noise. I went back to work, catching up on projects I'd almost lost. Tyler dropped by one evening with takeout and 12 bottles of wine. "Looks different," he said, glancing around. "It finally looks like me again." He nodded, then smiled softly. "You look different too." Elod. Maybe peace has good lighting. 2 days later. I came home from a client meeting to find the apartment empty. Their luggage gone. Number note, no goodbye, just an open window letting in a faint breeze that smelled like rain. I sat on the couch and breathed. For the first time in months, the quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. Weeks passed, Mom didn't call. Dad sent one text. "You could have handled it better." I didn't triply, but time did. What time always does, it softened the noise. A month later, I opened my email to find a message from my landlord. "All outstanding bills have been paid." No signature, just a receipt. Maybe guilt, maybe pride. I didn't need to know. On evening, as the sun slipped between the doors, I stood by the window glass, off wine in hand, and looked at my reflection. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who used to apologize for taking up space. I whispered to her, "You did it. You took it back." A week later, Mom showed up at me door with a pie. She looked older, softer, tired in a way I recognized. "We're wrong," she said quietly. "Sabrina's with us now. It's chaos. I'm sorry we didn't listen." I nodded, not angry anymore. "Just done. You raised me to take care of family," I said. "You'll forget to teach her the same." We sat for a while eating pie in silence. When she left, she hugged me longer than she ever had before. After she was gone, I turned off the lights, opened the balcony doors, and let the city sounds drift in. The air smelled like freedom. Some of the MSPs doesn't arrive with applause. It thrives in the sound of your own breathing, steady and unshaken, in a home that finally feels like yours again. If you've ever had to draw that line with your own family, you know how heavy it feels until you realize it's the only thing keeping you standing. And if this story hits somewhere close to home, stay a while. There's more where this came from. If you've ever had toasting up to family, tell me your story in the comments. You're not alone. Annie are not wrong for choosing peace over chaos. Hit subscribe for more true stories like this one.